Welcome back to Dum-Dums and Dragons, where improvisers who've never roleplayed before journey into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. I am the Great Wizard Bukake, your host. Our heroes destroyed the entire gang of goo dwarves. Butthole used his holy powers to throw back the darkness. Quinny tricked Reginald into having a vision, and Juniper turned into Echo to wear the dead mine foreman's outfit to attempt to command the beasts. Can they figure out what's going on and escape the mine alive? Find out next on Dum-Dums and Dragons.
It all began with the forging of just some rings. 3 were given to Gulper, betrayer and fairest of all beings. 7 more were also given to Gulper, craftsman of bad policy.
In return for cash.
And 9 rings were further given to Gulper, who above all else desired power.
I was going to say rings, apparently.
Yeah. This is the tale of those rings, which have no power. They are absolutely not in any way magical or powered up. Oh, there was no one. I'm gonna leave that like an unsneezed sneeze.
No.
You
That's
just
when
had
Nick
that
reaches down into the corpse's lap and pulls it. Oh, yeah, there's one ring down here. I don't know why it's down here near his groin, but here you go.
Yeah, it's it's one bling to further bling them all, and in gaudiness bind them. So yes, you
20 rings.
Echo,
Jesus.
you have so many rings. You are some kind of lord of them. Incidentally, if while you're watching this or listening to it, Laura's panel just disappears, it's because Amazon bought the rights to her character now, and they're just gone.
Is she Sauron?
It could be anyone. It could be me. It could be you. Who knows? It's
don't
possible.
Care.
Stay tuned for Dum-Dums and Dragons. Tom bitches about Tom Bombadil coming soon to one shots.
Tom Bombagon, am I right? Hello.
Tom Bombagon girl.
Oh.
I mean, it writes itself. Diddly-dee, maybe I'm already dead.
Because in this episode, it'll be Tom Bombagoo, am I right?
Yeah.
I guess. Again, I don't know.
No.
Tom Goombagill. Gom Goombagoo.
It just sound like background characters from The Sopranos who are just like in it for an episode and then get whacked for failing Tony in some way. All right, so Echo, you are blinged out with all these ridiculous rings of power, in as much as they represent the wealth of a jackass, but not, any cool spooky arcane power. You're within the Ageless Catacomb, an ancient mine that bridges the way into Akka. You can see that it is called that in the prospecting materials that you find, Butthole, and that you can read in Dwarvish, that seem to indicate kind of from the earliest records of this place what it was intended to do and to be. So from you're down here trying to find your way through to Akka. There was some kind of mining operation down here, but it's unclear as to what exactly was going on. So far, you've encountered the gerbils. Still no sign of the gerbil master, a character that you invented and I have nothing to do with.
It doesn't matter. We're finding that whistle, or we're dying trying.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Echo has become the Lord of the Rings, wearing a bunch of Gulper the Betrayer's bling, as well as his now ashy, formerly vomity robe. Quinny has recently gotten devomited, but has been kicked.
It looks normal, smells like barf.
Yeah, as you do. Reginald found surprising well of heroism when 2 separate players threw inspiration at him in order to turn him around.
And then the enemy ran away. Those were his 2 greatest moments.
You murdered the hell out of some goo monsters, and now Butthole, you're still reading documents. Echo, you are kind of in disguise as Gulper. To some extent, and that is where we find you. So, Butthole, let's roll an investigation. or a history. You can choose
I mean,
which.
would you accept insight?
Insight? No, I wouldn't. I'm looking at the same. I see the wisdom. I see it right there. No.
Okay, listen, I get it. I'm just saying, having him roll an investigation is basically sarcastic.
Well, look, you're reading a bunch of paper. So what's your pitch for insight? Why would insight work here?
Well, because he's not smart. It's the same way when he was investigating things previously, he'd wander around tasting things. Like, he's just praying and trusting his instincts to walk him to the right page. Because he's aware that reading this, he's not going to be good
all right,
at.
yes, that argument I will buy.
Vibes
If you're
of these
literally
documents.
just picking up, if you're doing the Bill Murray trying to read the cards in Ghostbusters thing, we're just grabbing a paper and being like, this one.
It's like feeling around with all the little buttholes moving papers to be like, yes. Okay,
Are
this
the
one
little
must be
buttholes
important.
still
And this
here?
they're around for 10 minutes, so he's got them to help. So
Yay!
Well, hang on a second.
love
It's been a week since our last episode, so I think they've probably dissipated by now.
Oh, that sounds like we've all had a long rest then.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth. No, you haven't. Your sword has no poison. All right, cool. So yeah, I'll buy that. I'm also just infinitely charmed by the Army of Darkness, or I guess Evil Dead 2 level tiny ashes just running around causing. No, that is Army, right?
Army of Darkness, yeah.
Yeah,
Number 3.
just tiny buttholes running around causing Sam Raimi shenanigans.
Hijinks.
yep, that is a 13 on the roll.
Oh man, it is good you didn't roll investigation.
I know.
All right, so 13. So you're not finding anything
Investigation's a negative number.
yeah, you're not finding anything tremendously helpful. But you are getting again just little glimpses into what this place is. So it was originally a small mining operation that was scheduled just kind of almost as an expeditionary, let's just see what's out there. And you can see from that random document you pulled that the expectation was that this would be an incredibly underperforming small mine. That this was really not meant to be anything. So much so that they basically sent a couple middle managers and 4 prospectors with pickaxes to get set up. That it really was a very unimpressive survey that had been done, and that there wasn't a huge expectation of any real reward. That said, snapshot of several years later, again, just picking up random paper, the mine is turning a tremendous profit, an overwhelmingly strong profit from adamantine, which wasn't listed anywhere in the survey document you found. But in this second document from years later, it's the profit ledger, and the work is very cheap, and the resources being mined are extraordinarily valuable. So you can see that it's booming, which again tracks with how efficient this place seems to be set up, as well as all the expansions you've seen. You rolled a 12?
13.
13?
That one's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, huge. And then I guess you get just sort of reports of a morale document that's just an internal report on morale and how effective the water coolers have been in just giving the workers something that isn't work, and they're all just thrilled about it, and that's great. But there's some frustration that management was pushed to this, but also it seems to just be an efficient way to keep them all happy. And there's some talk about how centering the water cooler at the core of the entire social experience of the miners seems to be almost giving it a godlike status, but also it seems to be helping with all the black lung just a little bit. It's not stopping anyone from dying, but it is slowing it ever so slightly. So with a 13, that's kind of all you get so far. Is there anything in particular you're looking for? What does Butthole want to get out of this?
The big thing was just to kind of understand the history of the mine, because he might be able to piece together more of the layout. And then the other thing is this black lung. He's actually pretty knowledgeable in terms of medicine from his time serving with the mercenaries and then kind of working his way up. Does that seem like it's traditional miner black lung, or could that be goo related?
You can go ahead with a medicine if you want.
Cool. That is 23.
23. So that very much does sound like from the way you're reading about it, it does just sound like traditional black lung, which is not a tremendously common thing among dwarves. But from the amount of profit you're seeing kind of being cranked out and the hours it would take to physically do the work, you get the sense that this mine was likely overusing its workers in a way that they likely weren't aware of. So it doesn't seem like there's an unexplained illness that is just literally like
everybody's tired, then they die. Yeah,
we haven't given like no one leaves is basically what you're getting from a lot of this. That once you start working here, the system is made almost like a this is awful, but like a proper casino, where it's just like if we can just meet your needs, you will never leave, and we just have no clocks or windows, so you have no idea what time it is. There's just food and drink everywhere, and until you run out of money, you can just comfortably be in this environment for as long as you need to be. Except instead of gambling, you're mining. So you really, that's the vibe you're getting from the documentation you found so far. That's not to say it couldn't be goo related, but you're not getting that vibe from what you can see.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any reports of goo shit going on.
No, it literally seems like, if we have lots of places for them to get water, it slows the degradation of their bodies from being down here when working.
Yeah. Does this desk have drawers?
Yep.
On the manager side? Are any of those locked?
Yeah, I think they all are.
Great. Hammer time. He wants to open those up. The shit that's not getting shown to these other dwarves is he wants to get to Gulper's personal stash. Because traditionally, if you have some shitty guy in charge of a thing, then that shitty guy is hiding the thing that goes bad. And then when it's all bad, sometimes they have a diary being like, oh, I shouldn't have done this. And maybe there's a diary. He's just thinking aloud to himself, like talking to the floating bubbles.
You got plenty of time as we're putting those rings on Echo like that. We skimmed over that at the end of last episode, but like it's a process. Yeah. Okay. So you don't need to roll for this. Hammer meets desk. Desk is not like reinforced particularly well. Again, further signs to you, Butthole, of like the power structures here seem to be so widely accepted that it is the kind of thing where it's like you can basically just put a small lock on it and people respect the lock. It's not that it couldn't be picked.
From what we heard through Reginald, he can have people eviscerated. So that tends to mean people don't open your drawers.
This is true. So you open the drawer, and the only things of note that you find are there is an official like management contract from there's like a very fancy stamp at the top of the letterhead. Again, it's like fantasy times, so there's not printing. But in kind of like a really nice, almost like the print you put in the front of a book. I forget what they call those. I want to say like, it's not lithograph. That's the wrong term. But you know what I mean? Those like a book plate that you stamp to say like, this is from the library of. Like, it's that kind of vibe, where it's got like little vines, and it's just kind of a beautiful script. And it just says the Good Works Company. And it seems to be an employment contract made out to someone named Victor Grum, who is listed as the foreman of the mine. And Victor Grum's name has been crossed out, and in a less delicate hand, Gulper McNiggles has been written over top of it. Like it's literally the Ned Flanders diploma with Homer Simpson written over it. It's like that level of just like, and it's not. To be clear, no one has co-signed this. Like, there's no update to this. It's just like
the hack job.
Yeah, he wrote his name over top of it. Beyond that, the only other thing of note is there seems to be a dossier, or sort of like, and this you do recognize as. It's not quite the Resident Evil diary that you're looking for, but it's clearly like this is the thing that isn't out in public, and it's a series of reports on Craven Morks, an organizer who seemed to be giving Grum a number of headaches with his talk of the right of the worker and other such things. And it would seem that the quality of the water coolers improved slightly with the rumblings and grumblings that Morks implemented. The report then shifts to the scrawling hand that you, I think, can now clearly identify as Gulpers. And it would seem that Craven continued to be an issue under the administration of Gulper until the moment that Reginald had to live through of Craven Morks's brutal execution. But it's like Gulper's take on it is a lot more like respect my authority kind of stuff. But he also mentions that he's worried about how much Craven is able to bend the ear of, as he puts it, the new owners. And I think that's about what you get.
Cool. Yeah. Butthole would relay all of that information to the group. He would also take out a quill and just cross out Gulper's information and just write Echo, because he'd heard them dressing Echo up as the new mine owner. So if it somehow is affected by this contract or the legal ownership, he hands it over to Echo. Just, okay, so now you're legally in charge of the mine if it gets weird.
Okay, but
new
who
owners.
Who are they?
Yeah, I don't know. So they could be the Goo if they teamed up with the Goo, because it seems like our version of Archibald had like a more functional relationship than keeping it in like a glass suitcase. Or it could just be a Ka if he had come in, but I don't think a Ka would listen to like some sort of pro-union communist, because if they did, we wouldn't be in toilet world right now.
Right. Hey, you happen to see anything about work orders for the armor or anything like that? That's one of the things we were coming in here to get.
Nothing about that. This was all just mining shit. So it turned out they thought this mine was just going to be a dump, and then it was worth a lot of money, and then I'm imagining a Ka found out and then murdered everyone who was in charge and took over. Now that sounds like my dad. And then, at some point things went wrong, but no one was keeping a diary. And that's why historically you need to keep a diary or write a Bible. Those are the two things you do for continuity of thought. That's why I wrote the Moon Manments. So that solves itself. Are you guys keeping diaries? Quinny, are you keeping a diary?
No.
Echo, do you keep a diary?
No, but Dr. Martha does. She has a diary about every person back at the castle.
That sort of sounds like something that's good, but unless a villain finds it, and then it could reveal all of our weaknesses, like that stage play about.
Well, okay.
Batman.
What side of this issue are you on, man? I can't.
Same joke.
Echo, you got to tell Martha not to include any of our weaknesses in that document. Just strengths.
Dear Dr. Martha, don't tell brother I love Butthole.
I don't like to talk to Dr. Martha.
Okay, then I'll talk to her later. That's fine. Do you know what? That feels like a me problem. Or we could just have Quinny steal it. No, this is going to get too complicated. Quinny, what do you think we should do next?
Leave if we can't get anything else out of this room. I mean, we came into the forge. We came in here looking for more answers about what the fuck is going on in the forge. We got nothing, so we got one other room to check according to, what we know so far. The what was it? The room with like a bit of a draft. It was like hot air coming through, I think.
Okay, so we got the final room. That makes sense to me. Reginald? Yes, I think we should leave right now. I'm Reginald.
Yeah.
Let's
Reginald
fucking go.
Thinks we should leave, yeah.
Okay, so Reginald, why don't you push Echo, because you've got the giant flaming hammer that works sort of like a torch.
Yeah,
Quinny?
I don't know if Echo can use her hands right now with all
I was going
the
to say,
rings
I
on them.
mean, also, Echo's arms are shorter than Juniper's. It's kind of hard for her to reach.
Perfect. So that's covering the bases. Quinny, you can do invisible sneaking, and I will be around. I guess
All
I'll
right.
bring up the rear, I guess.
All right, yeah, I'll head out in just a second. Can I talk to you real quick, Butthole, just about something?
Oh, yeah, sure. Do you want to just talk behind the desk that I smashed, or do you want to
Sure.
talk over by the door?
Over by the door is fine.
Okay, cool. All right. And he just walks over to the door.
And just like in a lowered voice, Quinny just says like,
Do you need to pray about something?
no, I just need to talk to you as the flesh and blood man.
Oh,
Butthole
okay.
Forge, yeah.
So you're talking to King Butthole.
Yeah. Yeah, your brother almost, I mean, not your brother, but Reginald, he almost bailed on us back there in the middle of a fight. You think you could kind of do something about that? I just think, like, look, all right, this is the main reason. Like, partly I don't want Reginald to hear about this, but another reason is because I'm going to say something. Reginald's trying to be like a better guy, okay? And he and I have been like mutually trying to work on that or whatever in our own way.
Wait, are you trying to be a better guy? Because it seems like you're really mean to him.
I don't want to get into it. But you and Juniper and Alan all helped me to be a better guy. And so I was thinking you could just do some of the same kind of stuff you did to him. This feels like this feels like a tattooing kind of moment, right? Like he nearly left us in the lurch, so do your tattoo thing, right? That worked on me.
See, I think
thing with him, and
it's interesting that you decided to talk to me as your king, because here's the thing.
That's not
right now.
Okay.
If you'd come to me as the butthammer and you had prayed for me to help you with this problem, then I could take some ownership on it and I could try to work some miracles and make that happen for you. But what you're doing is coming to me as the king. And what I would point out is, I need to run a country. I need to run a war on another country. And he didn't run because you got him to stay.
Because I threatened him.
You may have noticed I didn't really give you an option on the tattoos back in the day. You kind of do what works. So here's my order for you, Quinny. I command that you help Reginald be a better person, and that you become a better person along the way.
Yeah, well, all right. I'm already working on that.
I don't command that you work on it. I command that you do it. That's different.
Oh, fine then. Done. Ding. We're better.
Okay, so here's the thing. By the time we get to a car, I want to have seen Reginald do something good and outside of what Reginald would normally do, and I want to see you do 2 things like that.
All right, well, what do I or Reginald get out of that then?
You remain in the good graces of a king of what will be 2 nations at the end of this mission.
Okay, so you're saying, me and Reginald, we're not looking favorably to you right now.
I'm saying if you don't follow the commands, then you lose authority. Maybe you don't get to be, a privateer anymore.
What?
If I can't trust you to do a good thing, how can I trust you to do a bad thing in a good way?
That doesn't make any sense. You can always trust me to do a bad thing. When have I not done something bad?
Well, right now you're trying to help someone, and I'm trying to push the needle in that direction. I know you spend a lot of time with that talking rat who wants you to steal all the time, but I want you to steal less of all the time.
All right, look, I am going to need some kind of carrot from you to help with this, to grease the wheels of progress with old Reginald over there.
So you're asking me to bribe you to do the right thing.
I'm asking you to bribe him to do the right thing. Help me help him do the right thing.
Don't you steal a bunch? Again, you are the privateer, and you're asking me to sort out a bribe for somebody. It feels like you could do the bribe, Quinny. These are all things you're actually good at.
All right.
Now you're asking me to manipulate and then bribe someone. Of the 2 of us, who's better at lying and bribing?
You are. I lie. I say deceptively. See if he believes me.
I feel like at this point we do need to roll because I feel like your deception versus my wisdom is very funny in this instance.
Yeah, this is always the standoff, the Faerun standoff we reach when such things happen. So yeah, I'm into that. So go ahead then. We'll go with deception, obviously from Quinny, and I think probably
insight.
perception.
Realistically, it's like his feelings on whether or not he's getting fooled.
Yeah, I'd buy that. Sure.
Nice.
Oh, it's a low roll from me.
21.
A 5 becomes an 18.
Yeah, I'm not falling for this again, Quinny.
No, that was a bad one. That was.
Yeah, so just we both know that you're good at that. See, what did you do? You didn't try to bribe me. I bet if you'd included a prize, I would have got fooled. You know I get sucked into things, so that's why I'm here to coach you. You're going to make Reginald do 1 good heroic thing, and you're going to do 2 good heroic things.
Why do I have to do... and I just walk away. Like you're just a frustrated child.
Butthole just like straightens his coat and feels very proud of himself because he does feel like a dad. It's like the talk you always wish someone would have with him about how to be a better cleric on the way up.
While this is going on, Reginald and Echo, you have a rare moment together. Reginald, you haven't really spent time with Echo. What's your vibe on Echo?
Echo seems comfortable. I think Echo would be another Horde person. And Echo also has enough morals that I'm sure Echo's popped up once or twice around the fortress. This is
the first time you've seen
and
her,
hasn't been skinning people. So he thinks Echo's the harmless kind of spooky, scary, which is menacing, but there must be an underlying logic there that he can respect. That's how his brain works. Because he's met people like Echo who then are oh, we let them out in the garden and they ate 3 kids. Oops, well, I guess we won't let them in the garden again. Or those kids shouldn't have been out at night because the Horde's a nightmare place. Mm-hmm. So he's so what are you thinking about this whole underground goo thing? I'm interested in your theory, Echo. It feels like you've got a taste for evil yourself.
What do you mean a taste for evil?
She says as she's twirling a dagger.
Yeah, well, you know how you're terrifying and everyone seems to try to leave when you're around? That's what I'm saying. It comes to you naturally. Some of us have to learn to put that on,
Yeah, not everyone realizes that you have to kill a lot of people to get what you want.
See, you make a lot of sense to me on the scale of things, so how many people have you killed, Echo? I've got to ask.
Let's see. She starts counting on her fingers 1, 2... 7.
I'd like to see your fingers are clanking during this because of how many fucking rings you have.
And that was not her miscounting. That was just a group of 5 people she killed.
Okay.
I mean, Reginald doesn't know that. He just thinks she's terrible at counting now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I lost track a long time ago. I usually come out to kill people.
Oh, well, that happens to me a lot, too. It's sometimes what the job takes. So what do you do around the palace? I know there's, a therapist, and there's the paladin who likes the woods, and then a confused old man.
There's not much killing there, so...
Oh, well, we brought you to the mine, so there's going to be some fucking killing down here, let me tell you. So are you excited to fight the goo monsters, or are you excited to fight the speeding naked mole rats?
Well, I'll fight them all, but what are you excited to fight? Because you almost left.
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Oh, yes, you do, mister. Don't be a dick.
You've got spunk, don't you? Yeah, do you know what I want to fight? Boredom. I'll tell you that. That seems really good after this mission. I'd like to be good and bored for a while.
Why? Why do you want to be bored?
Well, it's a good way to not die. A lot of young people want excitement because they're stupid. And a lot of young people don't make it to old age. You want to be nice and bored.
That doesn't sound like a very worthwhile life.
Yeah, well, I didn't live up to my dad's standards, and I'm not going to live up to yours.
Well, you better live up to mine, because if you try to run away again, I'm going to flens you with my knife.
Yeah, well, you want to dance, you little turd? I got a flaming hammer with your fucking name on it.
I don't want to dance.
Yeah, well, good, because I'm a good dancer.
At which point, Quinny and Butthole return. Butthole, feeling really good about himself.
I was saying, Quinny comes back 1 second earlier and hears Reginald threatening a child. Butthole comes back and just thinks they're talking.
He's got my fucking work cut out for me.
Goblin Jr. and Doc Huckleberry have just been watching. They were close enough to hear the whole conversation. No
Doc
comment.
Huckleberry, to be clear, is having a real moment.
Say where? Has he just been hanging out in the corner?
He doesn't have any arm. All of his robot arms are gone, and
He's
got
a professional thief. He hid.
He's got no guns left. He's literally he's having that Hawkeye in Age of Ultron moment of just I'm the guy with a bow. If I don't have the bow, I'm just a dude who's here. So yeah, he's sitting there, and Goblin Junior is just kind of observing all of this, and he's spent enough time with the party to know when it's time to kind of step in and when it's time to kind of take a step back. Ironically, his journal does detail all of the strengths and weaknesses, and he has made a concerted decision that he has to go home and burn it. So now his quest is doubly powerful. But admittedly, the whole thing is just like slobber and like bite marks because he can't handle a pen, but he's convinced that someone could get at it. He's very smart, but he is ultimately still just a very good boy. So like sometimes there's just some dog logic that gets in there, and he's trying his best, but it's the journal will help no one. But he's now very worried about it.
To any regular being, it's just a book that a dog is pissed on so many times, and to a dog, you can smell like Homer's Odyssey on every page.
Yeah, it is literally just the DC Tower of Babel situation where he's like, snarf, snarf, this gets in the wrong hands. Like, that's it. The whole party's over. Like, who knows? Who knows what evil could occur? So he's worried about that. But also, particularly when Quinny and Butthole go off, he's usually like pretty good at like, I'm just gonna let that play out.
Also, he can hear from a distance because he's a dog.
Yeah, but he's got selective hearing. We've established this from all the time.
Polite.
He doesn't do things Quinny wants him to do. All right, so all of you group back up and begin to make your way back into the mines. Now that you're listening for it, you can certainly hear gerbils in the distance, and that the little scrabbling noises here and there, but not. You're just going kind of back over space you've already been through. When you go to leave the office, are you going back through the side door or out through the main door of the office?
I would be, if I'm scouting ahead first, my instinct would be to go through the side door, like territory we've kind of been through already.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll keep playing the peripherals so that we're not, marching out to the main space and getting lit up.
Totally fair. Okay, so Quinny, can you roll me a stealth check, please? Just to see if you can roll 2 ones in a row.
14. That's a 29.
29. Okay, yep, you're good. So nothing has followed you down this path. The vibe you're starting to get that tracks with kind of what you saw of the dwarves that were stumbling around the office is it's not like there are things patrolling the mines. It's more so if you stumble into them. If you kind of cross their territory or make enough noise, then they will be alerted to your presence, but there aren't like active patrols or anything. So you make your way back into the forge, which is where the warm breeze was coming from kind of the deep geothermal energies that were harnessed in order to run the forge. From here, on the far side of the forge, was another exit way that syncs up with, again, your understanding from the pathways that you followed earlier. And you begin down that path. We can use your same stealth check for this. That's fine. The air does get colder, and it smells a bit damp, a little bit damper. And you can almost taste metal as you go, just on the air. There's just a quality to the air that's a little off. And you reach a door. This one is heavier than the door to the boss's office, but this is a similarly rough-hewn pathway you're walking along. This isn't like one of those slick, well-sculpted ones. And the vibe you get off this door is it's almost closer to a blast door, where it's just like a heavy metal situation. It's movable, certainly, but it's not. It's got some heft to it.
Okay. I think I'll wait for everyone else to catch up. Then I'll disable invisibility and just be waiting at the door for everyone else.
Sure.
And say in a low voice, "Look, this is a heavy door here. I don't know how stealthy I can be opening it. I figured we all should be here for this, just in case there's a need for diplomacy or, radiant magic on the other side of this door. If we need those things, I'd like to have them close by."
Okay, so Butthole just leads in. He's like, we kind of do the same thing we did last time. Reginald and I can crack the door. Quinny, you can invisibly dash in there to be clever. And then either Echo, you're going to be in charge if they're like looking to you to be, gulpertastic, or we can negotiate or murder. Does that feel right to everybody?
Yeah.
Feels good to me.
Okay, let's fucking do this. And Butthole just get in position to open the door,
Yep.
as does Reginald.
Yep. Quinny prepares for stealth mode.
And then I guess we'll leave Echo with, a wolf.
Echo's just like petting
And a
Goblin
gunslinger,
Jr.
yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
Did you know that wolves are sacred creatures?
And Goblin Jr., like, his shoulders drop, like, slightly in relief. And he's like, snarf, snarf, which you can easily interpret as, I didn't, but looking at you, I'm pretty glad.
Having overheard this from a distance, Butthole is now considering possibly trying to convert Echo to the Church of Moonhammer because wolves are sacred to the butt.
Echo knows the Moon
And
Manments.
Moonhammer. Yeah.
I respect them without following them. All right. So, Butthole, you're booting the door?
They're going to actually try to open it. So they just want to open it wide enough that, like, if it's a big, heavy door, kind of one person can go through so
Sure.
they can do the same shit we did with the zombies last time, which is like, if we open it wide, we could get gooed.
Yep. Give me an athletics, please.
Great. He's also got Reginald helping. Oh, that's okay. That's probably a good roll, so it doesn't matter. Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. Yeah, okay. You're able to move it. Like, again, it's heavy and it hasn't been opened in a long time. But it is a functional door. It's not, sealed in any real way. It does, however, just creak like a real son of a bitch when you push it open. So there's just like a resounding creak. And as you're doing it, like your weight's already in it, and it's one of those things where you're edging it slightly and nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden it makes the noise, and by that point your weight's on it, so you can't really like pull off. And it echoes so much.
Right.
You can hear the sound bouncing off all sorts of spaces. And as the door creaks further open, you're kind of hit by a rush of air because you find yourself in the main dig site. So this is a massive, massive space. And it's beautiful in no uncertain terms because it's a lot of the same sort of honeycomb style little dig sites that you saw earlier. But here in the center of the space is a giant meteor made of adamantine that has been clearly excavated, and the entire space is built around it. It's almost on a pedestal. Like the ground has been cleared under it, and it's clearly been processed. Like large chunks have been sheared off of it. So you can think of it, honestly, almost like one of these D20s in terms of how it now looks, but with many, many more faces. So not, a rough-hewn rock from space anymore, but something that is being that has been sort of refined and carved down. The size of this thing is truly impressive, and the fact that parts of it have been processed, but there's still metal left is particularly like impressive, just in terms of the volume. There's scaffolding all around it, and built in such a way that teams could very clearly be working on different parts at different times. And similar to a launch tower for rockets, there's just a lot of towers around it with heavy winches and massive cogs and things that can help you, like big, heavy counterweights, all the things you would need basically to move a mass amount of heavy metal from up high to down low. The ground is just a writhing, interconnected series of tracks, similar to the minecart tracks that you saw earlier for delivering the bodies to the break room of mourning. These are the less ornate ore transport ones that you've seen before, and they do seem to go off in a variety of different directions. Looking at it, you can see that the more and more tracks and more kind of exits have been added over time, which sort of tracks with what you've seen earlier. All of this, I think, particularly Butthole, with the admittedly limited but still useful information you got from the boss room, do seem to suggest a surprise find and a gradual scaling up of operations over time. What was probably at first a holy shit, look at this thing we found, rapidly became, oh, holy shit, this is a full industry. With some of the early artistry being lost as time went on due to speed. Now, that said, that still doesn't track with the tunnels that you've just walked through. But you can see, similar to the map that had extra shit added to it, there's just a lot of surely we only need one set of train tracks. Oh, fuck, we probably need 2. Actually, we need 6. Okay, just keep building them. And those tracks, again, just kind of disappear off into various deeper tunnels throughout the mines. You can also see from here that a lot of the alcoves and things and scaffolding that's been set up along the walls of this massive cavern have seemingly been built for, and you can see a few of these chunks of the meteor. Is a meteor or meteorite when it hits Earth?
It's a meteorite.
Meteorite,
It's a meteor when it's in the air.
Did I get it right on my
In the
page?
atmosphere.
I did get it right on my page, which means past Tom looked it up and future Tom just didn't trust past Tom. Wrist slap. It's one of 6 notes I have for the planning of this session. So you can see shards of the meteorite throughout, and it stands to reason that the earlier catacombs you were working through were other deposits from when this thing hit. So sort of adamantine deposits in the walls and clearly kind of elsewhere that have been excavated. You're not sure when this thing hit. It's not like the miners started digging and then it hit. It was clearly embedded here from long ago and slowly excavated out. That said, similar to what you saw in the forge, there is a distinct sign of work ceasing. There are tools. There are like massive heavy drills that are still like embedded in the side of the stone. They've just seemingly been left there. A lot of the workstations are very cluttered, but very, very clearly no one has been active here for a long time. You don't see any dwarves kind of scurrying around. You can certainly hear noises coming from some of these side caverns and tunnels. But the advantage you have is even though the dwarves seem to be going about remnants of their business, there's such a vast volume of possible jobs within this infinite mine that, there are just plenty of other places they could wander off into, and they seemingly have. So for the moment, at least, you have free reign of the space. And I do want to make clear, this is a big fucking cavern. This isn't like a small space.
Like a stadium or bigger?
Yeah, stadium's a good call.
I was going to ask. There's no open sky above us, right? This is
no.
cavern.
This is this is subterranean.
An ancient meteor, then. Given that
very, very
the
old.
Earth has.
So to get
gradually
real
moved
Canadian,
over it.
we're inside a closed sky dome with a giant meteor at the center of it.
And that's the only name it's ever had, and it'll never have another one.
I'm not learning them.
Yeah, so big kind of massive space. So you guys have kind of entered, if you can imagine this meteorite being in the center of the space, kind of like held up as like the gobstopper core for this giant evil gobstopper. You are at kind of the midpoint of the meteorite at the area you've come in. So you'd have to descend downward to cross the cavern anyway. There aren't like scaffolding that there's a lot of different scaffolding, but it doesn't circle the full wall. And again, you get the sense that that's because this door wasn't here when the mine was built. This seems to be something that was added later. So it's got some rough scaffolding that's been set up. The nature of the scaffolding you're standing on is different. It is much less artistic and a lot more militant. It seems like it was built quickly and efficiently. So, there's no artistry to it. It's very sturdy, but it's the equivalent of when the military has to build a fast bridge. It's got more of that tone. I think Reginald and Butthole, you would very much recognize the scaffolding you're on as a Ka handicraft. And yeah, you find yourselves in this large space with the sound of a creaking door echoing off the walls. What do you do?
Quinny disables invisibility because it seems like just with that reverberating off this massive place, you could probably tell he was cringing before he became visible again at how conspicuous that noise was. And now he just says, well, I mean, I don't see the point in scouting ahead right now the way it is. It'd be easy for us to lose each other in such a big open space. Might as well be able to spot each other.
Yeah, I think our best chance is just to move fast and try to find a friggin' exit. We're not actually here to clear this place out. We're just got to get to a car.
Look at this place. I mean, which one's the exit? They go everywhere.
Goblin Jr., can you hear with your ears if there's like wind coming from one of the tunnels?
And he kind of like nods his head and, oh yeah, Goblin Jr., man. I've been rolling hot garbage this whole session, and then I roll Goblin Jr., and it's like the skies opened up and a fucking giant arrow points to the door.
It's because wolves are sacred creatures, Tom. That's
Truly.
why.
Snarf, snarf. So yeah, he definitely picks up a scent and kind of like nods towards the far end of the cavern. As you move in, Quinny, as you establish, if you guys are kind of chilling out a little bit, you can see that it's not purely tracks down on the ground. There are, like little stations set up. There's like what looks almost like a long haul for food, and some other sort of stuff. But of note is there seems to be a shrine and some very imperious cushions and carpets, as well as two ancient banners, one to Tempest, the god of war, and one to what looks like a really primitive early draft version of the sigil of a Ka. And that's like just down on ground level. The shrine is closer to the stone.
On a dig site of this massive size, is there any kind of office building, like not in the modern sense, but like any kind of like cabin or shack that's been set up where people in more like supervisory roles would be overseeing all this activity?
Yeah, I think you can see almost on stilts on a far wall. There's like a large. It seems to be crafted out of stone with wood supports, but yes, there is sort of an overseer's box. Okay. It is notable that this little like cushion and carpet situation isn't in that, as well as this shrine that does seem out of place to everything else. But yes, there is absolutely that space. And again, you can just safely assume in this large area that like there is a ladder everywhere for something or a ramp. Like there's just a lot of, it really is that.
A lot of chutes and ladders.
Yeah. It's a lot of that dig site where it's just like as they layered down, there wasn't any permanent anything built, but there's a lot of like ramps and scaffolding and elevators and that sort of thing. So Juniper, you won't have any issue getting around, or sorry, Echo rather, you won't have any issue getting around. You just might be a slightly different route.
Right.
All right, well, I mean, I'm interested in checking out that office just because, again, I'm thinking administrative, maybe a layout, maybe something like that.
All right, well, you're the most acrobatic of us, says Butthole. And he's like, why don't, honestly, get invisible, hit that thing on the way. We'll stick with Echo. We can just make for the end, and I'm sure you'll be able to join us. Just steal any shit that looks useful, and we can read it on the way.
All right, I'll meet you at the end unless something fucky happens, and then I'll appear again so that you can know where I am and we can help each other out. Okay?
Yeah. That sounds good. But otherwise, we'll just keep going as fast as we can. If they're coming after us, maybe you can get around them. Who knows? Yeah, we'll be clever. We'll look after each other.
Great. Okay. Yeah, you hear that, Reginald? Great opportunity. Great opportunity to look after the crew. No reason
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
saying
don't
it.
you-
I just think it'd be cool, right?
Don't you worry, I'm a wall that will protect everyone we've ever known. This is what heroes do. And he strikes a pose.
Come on, hero, push me.
It's time for me to push a little girl, like a hero. And then he starts pushing Echo around.
Quinny looks at Butthole like, huh? Yeah?
And Butthole just shakes his head. That one does
my
not
God.
count. And then he does like that finger thing that's like too little. And then he starts
all
moving the fingers apart and like,
He's like, all right, fine. He just tromps off. You can like invisible, but you can just hear him like you see a bucket get like kicked over and like chasm and shit.
Just a petulant ghost.
Yeah.
All right, so Quinny, you're headed to the overseer's office, and Echo, Reginald, and Butthole are heading to ground level. Is that correct?
Yep. I'm imagining Huckleberry will come with us because you don't have anywhere to hide. And
you can
Goblin
safely
Jr. as well.
assume he's following along. Yep.
Yeah. I think we'd all have had a rough time trying to scale anything that Quinny could scale anyway. So better to just keep the plate mail wearing idiots moving.
Fair enough. All right, so Quinny, you make your way into the overseer's office, and holy shit, is it a caw as fuck in here? It is black and gold, and like those banners are strung up. Clearly over top of whatever was in here. You can see there's like overly ornate kind of like golden clawed hands that kind of like hold a long winding scroll. Unlike the dwarven tomes you've seen everywhere, this seems to be like a something you just furl and unfurl as needed. Again, similar to what you've seen to this point, even though this isn't a war camp, it feels like a war camp. Like it just, everything is set up in that kind of rushed. People clearly rushed to set it up and then never changed it. It was just like whatever the most effective way in is. What specifically are you looking for in here?
Well, Quinny enters, right, sees all that, and then curses under his breath of like, I can't read Dwarven.
You don't need to. It's
A ka is common?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, so then he's like, fuck yeah.
But he's still mad he can't read Dwarven. It's just deep
it's
down.
a lingering problem.
It's just a reminder. He's lucky it's not Dwarven. Shit, I can't read Dwarven.
He's got to get some of those Duolingo artifacts so that he can start learning Dwarven back at the fortress. The Dwarvo lingo.
Yeah. I keep using Duolingo, which is like, riposte and stuff, and that's not getting me anywhere. So there's this scroll that you mentioned. I wouldn't mind taking a look at this scroll being clutched in these black and gold clawed hands. Is that right?
Yeah, it's just like gold. Like it's like.
I mean, that seems ostentatious as all hell. I'd love to see what that's about.
It is correct, but you quickly realize it is just their equivalent of like a paper towel roll holder or a toilet paper holder. Like it is just.
God.
They are gonna, in the same way Warhammer just has to add spikes, they just gotta add fucking audacious stuff. So in reading this is a very efficient ledger, and it is very focused on output. You can see though something that I think catches your eye, Quinny, and being a thief and kind of knowing the value of things. You can see that this isn't a financial situation ledger at all. It instead seems to be purely volume based. And the volume being tracked, you can see kind of almost like there's a legend around just like that tracks with kind of the suits of armor you saw and how much adamantine you would imagine is required for those. And you can see that they're tracking how much is being mined against essentially how many completed suits they can make. And it seems that they're going for a very specific number. It would seem that for whatever reason they require 6,666 suits of this armor, and you can see that they are deep into it. They're sitting at about 4,212. So they've been at it for a while. From what you saw in the forge, it looks like this process may have also slowed by needing to perfect what kind of armor they were going to make. But it seems odd to you, the specificity of the number and the fact that the armor is nothing special based on what you saw earlier is odd. And
Now,
then it
I
abruptly
know-
stops. It just straight
Right.
up, it's like the numbers just cease.
Okay. I know the street value of this stuff, right? This adamantine or anything like that. Do I know why that is? I know it's tough. It's valuable for that reason. Does it have any kind of other special attributes, conductivity, or is it magical in any kind of way?
It does have magical properties, and is known for being not only just incredibly strong, but an incredibly potent magical component, and certainly being conductive is the right space to be moving towards.
Oh, they're doing like a ritual or something.
So as you ponder that, our attention turns to some folks who are approaching a shrine. And Butthole, Reginald, and Juniper, you... Echo. As you make your way sort of across the tracks, you can again see Butthole... like, this is very much a war master or war mistress or war person's, like, battlefield setup. If you just need to look imperious somewhere, this is very much what that would look like. But a banner to Tempest is, like, a weird thing for a Ka. Being, like, a nation that worships war, Tempest is very much at the heart of that. But you can't recall, despite your father being like a priest of Tempest in a lot of ways, like being, a bishop. I think he was an we had initially established he was like archbishop, despite being Archibald of Tempest. But he held high rank in terms of like where Tempest sits. It's just odd to see Tempest elevated. You've only ever really seen a Ka livery, so that strikes you as a bit strange. But also the shrine is very much evocative of shrines to a Ka, the nation that you've seen. But this one seems to be much more. It pings something in your kind of your Moonhammer vibes in terms of It's not like a jingoistic nationalist thing. This actually seems to be a shrine to something or someone. And it's certainly not Tempest. But it is instead adorned with like the sigil of a Ka. And you can see that there is a massive tome sitting in the center of basically just like you can think of it as a small altar. It has a broken spear on it, sort of like just next to the book. And then one melted down candle, like such that it's spilled over the side, and one tall ironclad lit candle. Or sorry, not lit candle, but like unlit. It's got like a little bit of the drippy, but like it's clearly like a massive thick candle that has probably been lit for ritual purposes, but clearly hasn't burnt down.
Okay. Yeah, he'd be more comfortable checking this place out, but yeah, he's got to know what the fuck's going on in that book, because that book is raising questions in a lot of ways.
Okay.
He'd probably just flip through it to see if he recognizes anything. If it seems useful, he'd pick it up while they keep moving. He's not really going to like stay here and explore and have us sit in the middle of this like temple in the middle of an open thing after we made a shitload of noise.
So you approach the tome, you'll pick it up and just kind of like give it a quick look. And you see that it is the title of it that has been etched very like patiently and carefully into it is The Cult of a Ka. And as you do when you pick up something spooky, you can tell that like the cover is made of bone. And the wording has been carved into it. It's been painted very ornately. And the opening it, just kind of like pulling open the cover, you can see that it has been penned by Bloodworthington Tinglaria, architect of a Ka, comma, war mistress. At which point, a booming voice echoes throughout the cavern as the surface of the meteorite ripples, and a face begins to form with sharp features that look ever so distinctly familiar. And a voice simply says, "The nerve of you to come back down here and disturb my slumber, Archibald. Foolish brother, you will pay for this."
This episode of Dum-Dums and Dragons features the voices of Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter, Laura Hamstra at EL Hamstring on Twitter, and our DM Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter. This episode's sound was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and Dum-Dums and Dragons artwork is by Del Borovic, who can be found at delborovic.com. Our theme songs are And Now for That Massive Coronary and Skipping Through the Orchestra Pit Part 1 by Peter Gresser, and our ad music is No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR, all available at freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum-Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. But most importantly, we've got merchandise at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, or you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDUMBDICE. And tune in next week for more Dum-Dums and Dragons. Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time. The Half-Blind Prophet, Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Stabby Stranger, Glitch Trick, Roman Brown, Spot Allen, Flynn1138, Alarain Okapi, OMG, it's Big Nick, D&D and Things, Norma Byers, Schrodinger's Pepper, Guy Edwards, Flea Unit, Madre de Gatos, Lady Maiden, Melissa Rain, Nithrian, Garbo Ape, Locke, Sam Schaefer, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.